what's up? Hello, I hope you all are doing well. The coffee book tag that I'm doing today is a little bit bittersweet, if you will, since I used to drink a lot of coffee and this spring have had to actually give it up. This is Earl Grey. But I've seen this tag a little bit going around. Break Even Books I saw did it, and that really inspired me to try this for myself. I wasn't tagged by anybody, but I do still love coffee. So with that said, there's some really cute questions. I'm excited to play by the rules a little bit, but as we all know, I love rules until they apply to me. So let's go ahead and see how this turns out. So the first question is black coffee. Name a series that's tough to get into but has hardcore fans. So for me, what I chose was a book that I found tough to get into because the genre is not really my typical genre, but I decided to give it a go. Somebody had given me a copy of the book, and so I chose Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses. I don't really think I need to say too much about how this book has some very hardcore fans, but I have read all of the books that are out to date. I read this as part of the Femme Fatale readathon in 2019, I think, that March. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's like super challenging to get into, I guess, on the whole, but as someone who doesn't read a lot of fantasy or really any fantasy outside of Harry Potter, I found this like challenging to work with and challenging to deal with having to learn a bunch of names and having to learn a whole new world, and it was not based in anything. I was just not used to that, and so it was tough for me to get into, but undoubtedly it has hardcore fans. And if for some reason you're coming to this video and having never heard of this book, I was like you for a very long time, but this is a aggressively appreciated and I think also an aggressively hated series. So if you're keen on a Beauty and the Beast retelling, check it out. Or don't. Who's to say? So the next question is Peppermint Mocha. All of these questions are varieties of coffee-ish beverages. And Peppermint Mocha is name a book that gets more popular during the winter or the festive time of year. And when I heard this, my very first thought was Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Myercal. And I've never read this book. I've read all of John Green's other books, but never this one. It was a book that got made into some Netflix production last year, and I guess it's very cute, but obviously it's called Let It Snow. It's wintry themed, and I feel like every winter someone drags it up and talks about it. And I shouldn't say it like that, but like, you know, brings it up and talks about it. And it definitely got a lot more hype last winter than it did before because it got made into a show or a production or special, something like that. It's probably real cute. I don't know, I've never read it. I've actually never read anything by Maureen Johnson. She's the only author in those three that I've not read anything by. So maybe this year, when the winter comes around, I'll have to give it a try. Who knows? I've never had a peppermint mocha in my life. That doesn't really sound all that great. So we'll see if I feel that way about the book. Now, question number 3 is hot chocolate, which is what is your favorite children's book? I find this question upsetting, appalling, and absurd because I love children's literature. We all know that. And I declined to pick a favorite. And so for this, I picked 4 different titles. Actually, 3 of the 4 are series. Well, you could argue that the 4th one is a series as well. Regardless, I'm going to cheat on this question really, really hard to try and name you some that I think that you might not necessarily be familiar with. So if children's literature is also your jam, you can give some of these a go too. I will warn you, almost all of them are between 20 and 40 years old, at least. So the first, if you've been around here long enough, this will come as no surprise to you, or you'll be like, oh yeah, is the Trixie Belden series. Now, there are a lot of girl detectives out there, and probably more on the way, but I was never really a Nancy Drew girl, and I was always a Trixie Belden girl. My grandmother gave me one of these books when I was in the 7th grade, and that was it. That was it. I had to have them all, and I have a bunch of really original cover vintage editions and a bunch of the sort of newer editions that have been written by some other person, but they're all lovely. Trixie is super precocious. She's really sassy. It's like definitely a bunch of middle-class white kids living in the Hudson Valley who are all reasonably privileged in the 1950s. just setting the stage for you there. But there's some very cute mysteries. They all, like, the bunch of friends that has like a secret club. It's very much like, it just feels very 50s white middle class. But what I was really drawn in by is the fact that, like, Trixie lives on the farm, Trixie's really sassy, Trixie doesn't like to do the dishes, and Trixie was always in hand-me-down clothes with like mop top curly hair. So it's always been a thing where if I can find a character with mop top curly hair wearing hand-me-down clothes, that one was my favorite. Trixie Belden, Hermione Granger, I could go on. Anyway, these are really cute. Some of them are really scary. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The next books that I'm picking are The Chronicles of Prydane by Lloyd Alexander. These were given to me by someone who said, if you like Harry Potter, you'll like this. These are based on Welsh mythology. I've been talking about them for forever. I have a couple of the 1960s original covers, which is what you see here. They're beautiful. They're like magical in a whole other like little land. Again, there's like a princess who's super sassy and gives it straight to the main character and is like, hey, back off, I'm a woman, get over it. It's great. These are just really super adventure stories. They focus on a boy named Taran, who's an assistant pig keeper, and he lets this pig, who is an oracular pig, who could predict the future, accidentally run away, and in doing so has to go chase her down, and that just changes the course of his life so unbelievably for the next 5 books. The books do get longer as you go on. I would recommend this if you'd like a good adventure story. If you like YA, this wasn't like YA as we think of it now, but for the 1960s it certainly was. They're really, really well done, and if you have a sort of twisted and weird sense of humor, you'll appreciate these as well. For my 4th series, I picked Meg Cabots' The Princess Diaries. I can remember spending a very long time in the library of my middle school, just sitting down in the same place every day next to these books and reading them while I was there. Another curly-haired character who I felt really strongly about was Mia Thermopolis. If you're not familiar with this or have only seen the movies, give these a try. Very different. Very different. There are so many. I don't think there needed to be quite as many as there were, but so many. My last book for this question is Trial by Journal by Kate Kleiss and illustrated by her sister, and I read this in grade school and then had to read everything else by her, which spawned a whole series of like fountain and sink and water thematic type books. But this is about a girl who gets called to serve on a sequestered jury for a terrible thing that happens at the zoo, and because the case involves a child, they have to put a child on the jury. It's fascinating. And anyway, she winds up solving the mystery and meeting a lot of really cool and weird adults in their time being sequestered. It's really cute. There are drawings, and it's really hard to get a copy of this book now. I'm pretty sure it's out of print. I don't know why, but this is just so lovely and sweet, and these are all kind of adventure-y type books, so this is a different type of adventure, but the adults that she meets in this book are all a little bit zany. All the adults in this town are a little bit zany, as you might find with any type of children's book that wants to convince kids that like they know something. So would recommend. She also has books called Regarding the Fountain, Regarding the Sink, also wonderful. Let's move on. Question number 4 is a double shot of espresso, something that I can no longer have and never should have been allowed to have to begin with. But name a book that kept you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. I don't really read a lot of like super gripping books, I guess. I don't read about mountaineering accidents like Bex does or anything like that, but a book that kept me really engaged and just from start to finish, and so much that I read it like twice in 2 days or something like that, was First and Then by Emma Mills. And this is a very, very cute contemporary YA book. I'm pretty sure I've done a whole review of this book. I'll link it here if you want to watch that. But it's just about this girl who is like trying to find her way in her last couple years of high school, and reads a lot of Jane Austen, and she just it's a story of her learning to like deal with her family, which is a little bit non-traditional, and making some new friends along the way. It took me forever to figure out the title, but it's super cute, unbelievably cute, and just really heartwarming. Like you can't get enough of her and her family and just the way that all of these characters interact with each other. And pretty much anything Emma Mills has ever written, you should probably give a try if you like contemporary YA. Question number 5 is called Starbucks. Name a book that you see everywhere. And for this, I had to pick Delia Owens' Where the Crawdads Sing, because I have seen this book for months and months and months. It's always the book that's at the very top of the What's Popular audiobook page in my Libby app. Shout out to the Libby app if you're an audiobook person. And it's so many people have told me that they love it and that they've read it and that it's worth the time. So I don't know what it's about, to be quite honest with you, but I know that it got Reese Witherspoon's attention, I guess. So I would say if you know what it's about and you love it, please let me know in the comments, because I would also like to read it and love it. I have it on my audiobook holds list, so I'll be giving it a try. Question 6 is That Hipster Coffee Shop. Give a book by an indie author a shout out. Been to a lot of these in my day because I lived in Edinburgh. And so I have chosen a book that is published by also an independent publisher, Drawn and Quarterly, and it is called Hot Comb by Ebony Flowers. Dr. Ebony Flowers, I should say. And this book is a graphic novel about the author's experience being a Black woman and with her particular style of hair. I think I talked about it in one of my quarterly wrap-up videos last year. It's really lovely. The illustrations are incredible, and it's just very familial and very intriguing for those of us that don't have the type of hair that she does and have not been through her life experiences. She wrote it while she was doing her doctoral work, and it is a beautiful, beautiful book. Again, the illustrations are lovely. So many of them, I'm pretty sure, are just pen and ink. I'm not up on my visual art materials, but most of it, if not all of it, is in black and white. If that sounds like it might be up your street, check out from your library. Question 7 is, oh, I accidentally got decaf. Name a book you were expecting more from. First of all, there's nothing wrong with decaf. Sometimes it's 4 in the afternoon and you just can't handle regular coffee. There's nothing wrong with decaf. Fight me. Anyway, the book that I've chosen for this is Deja Dead by Kathy Reichs. This is the first book in the Temperance Brennan, or Bones, I guess, series, since it was made into a television show. And I read this before I led our library book club, when we needed to have book club because it wasn't going to meet, and so I cajoled a bunch of other people into reading something with me, and we met ourselves, and so we chose this. And I have seen Bones, the television show. I've seen most of it, and I had never read these books before, and this was just uncommonly disappointing. I did not enjoy Temperance Brennan. I didn't like how she couldn't just follow directions and listen. Nothing that she was doing really fit in with her scientific method-minded attitude. I think I went into it with a better understanding of what the TV character was like than what the book character might be like, and I just didn't work for me. Very disappointing. We did not continue the series. Thumbs down. So that's that. I don't think anything else needs to be said. And then finally, question 8 is the perfect blend. Name a book or series that was both bitter and sweet, but ultimately satisfying. Bex will be excited to see this book back again, but there was no doubt in my mind that for this question, I picked Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This book is upsetting. It's also beautiful. It's so divisive in terms of the writing style and the plot and everything about it. I love this book. I read it twice. It is incredible, and it is just, it's so perfect. It's just such a perfect book. And not from any sort of critical standpoint, probably not even from an MFA authorial writing standpoint. I love this book, and that is okay. It is very bitter. It is also very sweet. It is so satisfying, unless you're one of those people that can't stand it and hates it. And I love the fact that it is so upsetting to so many people and so beloved by so many others. It's great. you should give it a try. So there you have it, the coffee book tag. I don't know if these people are into coffee, and I should check if they've done it before I tag them, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna tag Katie over at Chapter Stacks and also Olive from A Book Olive, because I would love to know their answers to what is going on with these questions, and see what hot beverage, if any, that you choose to answer these with. I'll link some other folks who have done this tag in the description, including, if I can find it, the creator. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having lovely weeks and lovely lives, and we'll see you very soon.